Hello, everyone, and welcome back to CBJ Sports. Today we have a special podcast. As everyone knows, the NBA playoffs is happening. We're going to go through each series throughout the entire NBA and go through what we think needs to happen for another team to come back and win, or what happened that made a team win, like the Sixers or the Bucks early in these series. But first, we start off in the East. The number 1 seed 76ers versus the 8-seeded Wizards. And the first thing is the MVP of the series. And for me, I think I have to go with the MVP of maybe the league. And Joel Embiid, he's looked dominant against the Wizards in this series. Against Alex Len, he's just played really well in all the facets of his game.
Yeah, I'd go Joel. I don't think can't really stop him. I think he's averaging 28 in the series, like 28 and like 9 or 10, something like that. But it's not honorable.
Yeah, definitely Embiid. He just dropped I think it was a 32-point game last night. 36? Yeah, Embiid definitely.
Moving from MVP to a guy that hasn't been talked about, the secret weapon of the series. And if you're looking at the Sixers, I think a guy that I didn't look at as much, but Tobias Harris has looked really good against the Wizards last night. I don't know what he's averaging in this series, but I think every time I watch a Sixers game, he just looks a lot better than the old Sixers Tobias Harris. He's more consistent. He's smarter with the basketball. I think that's a secret weapon, not just of this series, but if the Sixers want to make a run.
I've always said that too. Like when Tobias Harris plays good, the Sixers team is just a different team when it comes to if he's playing good or not. Which Doc Rivers definitely changed it. The foundation, I guess you could say, of like the way we're playing. He's letting them do what they want to do, pick and roll, screens, stuff like that. We didn't really do that with Brent Brown. It was more of a motion offense, but yeah, I'd go Tobias Harris. When he plays really good, that's a whole different team.
Yeah, Tobias Harris, he's definitely feeling more comfortable this year. It seems like last night he dropped a double-double, 20 points, 13 rebounds, and then the first game of the series it was 37 points. So.
Yeah, he just looks more a part of this team than he did in the old Sixers with Brent Brown, as CJ says. I think that series is pretty much a wash. If they don't sweep the Wizards, maybe the Wizards still won, but I think the Sixers are definitely coming out of that side of the bracket. The number 2, the Brooklyn Nets versus the 7-seed Celtics. KD has looked amazing. Jason Tatum looks like a one-man team almost, but moving on from that, who needs to step up for the Celtics for them to get back in the series? And who's going to help Jason Tatum? Dropping almost 50 every night and still losing. Who's that guy? And for me, I think it's got to be Kemba. I think Kemba's got to be a more score-first point guard and stop leaning on Jason Tatum to take the workload. I think Kemba's got to be the guy.
Yeah, I'd go Kemba. Relying on Jason Tatum to drop 50.
So maybe not even win.
Yeah, it's not going to do it. I would go Kemba.
Definitely Kemba or even Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart's looked okay.
Yeah. But,
that team is literally just Jason Tatum.
You got to go Kemba.
Jason, I feel so bad for him, but the Brooklyn Nets look really good. Did they lose the last game?
Boston.
Yeah, Boston. Even in that, yeah. KD
Yeah.
looked good. James Harden had almost 40 or something like that. The next question is, who needs to step up for Brooklyn for this team to be a title contending team? And it's hard to say, but it definitely has to be a big man. I don't know if it has to be Nick Claxton or DeAndre Jordan, but it has to be a big man down low that's going to scare teams like the Lakers if they get all the way to the championship. If the Lakers get all the way to the championship.
Which that's the problem with the Wizards right now. You gotta have somebody to stop Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not gonna win games.
I think that's what's
just not gonna happen.
Yeah, if you meet the Sixers in
that's
the
what's
Eastern
causing
Conference
that
Finals.
problem, I think, is not having that big man when they play the Sixers.
Yeah, I think Nick Claxton's been off and on hurt-wise also.
Yeah, you could put if Sixers and Nets meet up, KD will stop.
I say KD's 7
a little
foot
bit,
tall.
but Joel also weighs 270, so it's not gonna
Yeah,
not gonna affect anything.
I think the Nets need to really address the paint problem here early in the playoffs before they get deeper into their run. Moving on to a game that's on right now, the Knicks and the Hawks. The Hawks are winning right now, but the Knicks have looked good, even in the last game the first game in the ATL. What matchup do you think controls this series, and what's going to be point of when you look after the series of why a team won. And for me, I think it's Trae Young versus whoever's guarding him. Because they put Derrick Rose on him, they put Reggie Bullock on him, and no one can seem to guard Trae Young getting to the paint, or even just a simple step back, because I think it's definitely a point guard matchup.
Like when we were watching it earlier, just a couple minutes ago, like they're just switching them off, or they're setting a pick so they can get
Putting Julius Randle on
them, and it's just easy. It's either a layup or it's a kick
get a
out
foul.
Yeah, definitely Trae Young. But I think what's messing with the Knicks right now is Julius Randle. I think last game he went 0 for 6 in the first half.
Derrick Rose was the only Knick to have over 2 field goals in the entire game.
Yeah, Julius Randle
is the main reason they're there right now, and he's shooting 0 for 6 in the first half. That's not going to work.
Yeah, Julius Randle definitely has to step up. Who will be the deciding factor? I think we kind of just answered that. I think it's either got to be Julius Randle or Derrick Rose has to play the consistent factor of being able to guard Trae Young when he's on the court and still dropping 20 plus. I think it's got to be Randle or Rose.
Yeah, trying to get people open or something.
Yeah, I think it's Randle. I think it's mainly Randle.
I'd go Randle.
Yeah, Randle does not look like the guy we saw.
I'd go Randle because like he played. He was dropping 30, 40 point games.
Averaging like 26.
Yeah, and then he's averaging like 12 or 10.
He looks like old Julius Randle from the Lakers. Moving. We won't take long on this series. The Bucks did sweep the Heat 4-0. I was an advocate that I thought the winner of this series is going to be a team that could battle the Nets in that round 2 spot. But I was also an advocate that I thought the Heat would be that team, and they just didn't look the part as being a finals team last year. The Bucks looked really good shooting the ball, but what shocked you most? And for me, I think it was Chris Middleton's play. He's played really good the last 2 years. He's an all-star caliber guy, but I did not expect him to come in and just do the Heat like he did. The Heat are a really good defensive basketball team, and they just couldn't guard Chris Middleton.
I'd go him, or I'd go, what's his name, Forbes?
Bryn Forbes. I mean, that's a shocker.
I mean, he's coming off the bench.
Greg Popovich is crying right now.
He's like 6 threes in the first half the other day. I mean, he was just on fire, dude.
Yeah, he was on fire.
He's got 2 30-point games in that series.
What shocked you most?
Shocked me most? Definitely, I think Middleton came out and just firing. Looked really good.
I think everyone in the NBA knew the Bucks could shoot like this, but they didn't think they could shoot like this to an extent like that.
That's what it was, though. Like
I think
rely on
Giannis'
so
highlights
much.
kind of overshadow their 3-point capability.
But it's like
you stop the Bucks 3, you got a chance to run. But when they're on,
but you say that with hoping that you can stop Giannis getting to the rim, and also, I mean, Brook Lopez can shoot the basketball and get to the rim. They have guys. Drew Holiday is a great finisher at the rim. This might be the most complete team in the East. Yeah. Like we just talked about the Nets not having that big man. This team's got Brook Lopez down the paint. They have Bobby Portis who can get low.
I think that PJ Tucker trade's big for them.
PJ Tucker's aggressive. He's played safe.
He's just sort of Draymond Green of the Bucks. That's all it is.
I think the Bucks team is showing the NBA that they're ready to come off that bubble loss, and that could be a finals team if we don't watch out for them. Moving on to the West, as we wrap up the East, the 1st seed Utah Jazz take on the 8th seed Memphis John Morant. A lot of people have been watching this series. It's really just been, they're really in the same Celtics position, but I think this team has a lot better role players. Who other than Ja can win this series for the Grizzlies? And for me, it has to be Dillon Brooks. I think he has to shoot better. He has to shoot more consistently. He has to take smarter shots.
Yeah, we've seen it in Game 1. He got 40.
Yeah, Dillon Brooks can be that guy for the Grizzlies if Ja's not on it. He just hasn't shown up. So are you agreeing with me and Dillon?
Yeah.
I think Valanciunas, he was very consistent through the year, and then last couple of games he's been getting in foul trouble right off the start, so he hasn't been getting the minutes that he should have been getting.
Yeah, I think this Jazz team is realizing that this Grizzlies team's for real. They were kind of taking it easy, and they lost that game, and now I think...
And I think if Grizzlies want to go like deeper in the series, Jaren Jackson's
got to step up.
Huge, like big time. I think he had 9 points.
That's it also. He was so good his rookie campaign, and he got hurt. His second year, he looked good. I mean, he's got to step up and be a bigger factor. After last night's win for Utah, can Mike Conley be a title team point guard? Mike Conley be a title team point guard if this Jazz team lives up to that 1 seed and makes it all the way? And for me, it's yes. I think Mike Conley's proven over and over he's a generational type guy. He's a Hall of Fame point guard. I think Mike Conley's been overshadowed because of the teams he's been on. He's an all-time guy for the Grizzlies at point guard. I mean, Mike Conley is a playmaker at heart, but when he's dropping 27, he's got to be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, if he can do it consistently, that's the biggest question mark right there. But
I think Conley's definitely really. But I think with D. Mitch on his team, you got Gobert.
You think he wouldn't have to do as much?
Yeah, I'm sitting there thinking like. You really don't have to do. I'm thinking that he don't have to do as
But
much.
I think that's why Jazz fans are so happy. They didn't expect a lot out of him. He's coming in a playoff game, dropping 27 and 9, and that's what you want from Mike Conley. Moving on to maybe the series of the first round. The number 2 Phoenix Suns versus the number 7 Lakers that got in off the play-in game. Who has to step up more? Anthony Davis or LeBron James? And for me, it's got to be Bron. AD's been doing his thing these last 2 games. Bron has to be a more consistent playmaker at the point guard position, and sometimes you watch the series and it's almost like he's playing with Jay Crowder, but he's not scoring on Jay Crowder. Like, if you're going to do all that, you need to be putting more help with AD instead of just messing around. And
that's like game 1 when AD said, like, what did he say in his press conference? He said, that's my bad, whatever, that game's on me, whatever, and he came out and dropped 30-30.
But it's like your teammate's LeBron James, you shouldn't have to, play perfect.
Yeah. But Bron, he's got to step up if they want to, not sweep them, but if
they want to win the series, you going Bron or AD?
Bron or
AD has to step up.
It's Bron or AD? Oh, definitely Bron. I think AD. I think AD.
I feel like 2 games is definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely Bron.
I think that team is really based off how AD and LeBron performs. What matchup should Phoenix be looking to expose to win this series? And for me, I think Chris Paul's been playing hurt. I think you have to sit him maybe a game and just let him get healthy. It's whoever D-Book's going against. You have to take control of that position. I think the Suns are better at every guard position than the Lakers. I think if you get the ball in Devin Booker's hand, you can take over a basketball game, especially if you have Town Horton Tucker or Dennis Schroeder on Devin Booker. I think you have to take advantage of that.
Which they were doing the same thing in game 1 too. They're getting those switches they wanted, but D-Book. But game 2, they just weren't shooting as well. They were getting the looks, but they just weren't shooting well.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that in the last game. Their shots were just not falling like they were in previous series, and they definitely shots just weren't falling. So.
Yeah, I think the Suns have to play a guard-oriented game of basketball if they want to take down the Lakers, because the Lakers are just—it's like the Sixers-Wizards team, but the Suns are more talented than the Wizards, where the Lakers just look too big for the Suns in certain moments of the game, and they really have to step up. I think DeAndre Ayton has to step up also.
Which Chris Paul being hurt is
it's really killing him.
Because he only played, I think he played 6 minutes in the whole second half of the other game. That just hurts him.
Cameron Payne stepped up off the bench. 19 and 7 in the last game.
I don't think as much as DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton was their highest scorer last game. But if you look at the Lakers, most of their points are strictly from their guards and their Andre Drummond. He had 6 points. So I think it's not necessarily more of DeAndre Ayton. I think it's more of on the defensive side. Lakers guards. That's what LeBron, and AD scored a lot, but I think it's more of the guards than the 3-point line.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to a series that, it's hard to keep up a series that starts at 11:30 at night because it's only be playing on the West Coast. But the number 3 Denver Nuggets without Jamal Murray against the number 6 Portland Trail Blazers. Who should Denver be getting the ball when it's not Joker? Joker didn't look very good in the last game. He shot very poorly from the field. But if you're Denver, you have to let a guard control the basketball because they're just going to double team Joker, and a guy like Austin Rivers has to step up. I'm not even going to try to say the guy's name. It's like Campazzo or something like that. He's the rookie from overseas. He's looked really good. But you have to get a facilitator of the basketball to get the 3-point shooters open, like Michael Porter Jr. in the corner or guys that shoot.
I was thinking Michael Porter Jr. He's getting 25, 26 minutes, and last game he got 3 points.
I was just saying,
that's not.
I wouldn't feel Michael Porter Jr., but he just don't have that mentality yet.
Michael Porter Jr. played so well this regular season. I was that's why I was so willing to put money. This Nuggets team could go far. This could be a title team.
Because they were all connecting. They're
missing so many people. They're missing Morris. I think he's hurt. P.J. Dozer's been hurt, who controlled the basketball a lot in the regular season.
Morris played 25 minutes.
he played last night.
Yeah.
He's been hurt earlier in that series. I mean, Jamal Murray's one of the best point guards in basketball. He's been hurt.
How did they trade away?
They had Aaron Gordon, who has done absolutely nothing.
Harris, whatever.
6 points less.
Did they
Done absolutely nothing since they traded for him.
Yeah.
That's an all-star guy who's just doing nothing for the team. That's 3 teams in this whole playoff that I think is literally come down to one player. If Joker's playing bad, they're losing the game.
No, that's the funny part. Because game 1, Portland won, and Jokic then and I don't think he played that good. And then he came out and dropped 40, and they won. And then he just dropped 16, and they just got
Nuggets, they have I think, most rotation in their roster, which has been worked throughout the regular season. No, not one person on their team had more than 30 minutes, or more than 27 minutes was the most. Joking, 27 minutes. That was the most on the whole team. You look at Suns, Booker had 41 minutes. You look at other teams, they're all playing 40 minutes. I think.
Don Thibodeau 60 minutes.
Yes, Nuggets definitely have, I think, the better roster for this, but it's just not working right now.
I want to agree with you because I think that Nuggets team is really good when it's fully healthy and everyone's playing up to their potential.
Yeah,
But I think that last game showed us how deep this Trailblazers team is. I'm not even going to ask the second. I'm not going to ask the second question that I wrote down because Dame had one field goal I think all night. I think he had 8 free throws maybe. He played really bad.
They hit that one.
But
That shows you how good that Norman Powell dropped 32 and that
That's
team's
what I'm
deep.
That's why.
CJ McCollum stepped up.
Yeah, I was just saying, Norman Powell stepped up and
Yeah.
got, what is it, 30?
It was 32.
Yeah.
Career high for Norman Powell.
That's what they need. And
Yeah, Blazers definitely have people stepping up.
Yeah,
Melo gives you a
Mellow
15
15.
every night.
Yeah, I mean, this team is deep, and I think the Nuggets team is so good, but I think that Blazers
Nuggets
play-
are just not connected.
Yeah,
Like regular season, they'd be, I think, blowing this Trailblazers team.
the Blazers team fully connected with Dame having 20, CJ McCollum. I mean, if the Trailblazers hit their shot, it's like a 2K on rookie game.
Yeah.
If the Trailblazers are hitting threes, they're almost unstoppable.
Oh.
Melo, yeah, I mean, it's got prime Melo as small forward. I think that team.
back.
Yeah, that team's going to be scary if they get to that second round. Moving on to the last series, the number 4 seed LA Clippers versus the number 5 seed, which is weird to say the Dallas Mavericks because it has looked the opposite direction seeding wise. The first question is the biggest question of the series. Who do you put on Luka? And I think the only answer is the best defensive. The only answer is the best defensive player to play basketball in the last 10 years. Kawhi Leonard has to guard Luka every single possession. I don't care if he says he's hurt, if he says he's tired. Kawhi Leonard has to watch him bring the ball, and you have to guard him from half court. You cannot let him get to the 3-point line and make a play. You have to double team him as soon as he gets to half court and make someone else beat you if you're this Clippers team.
Yeah, that's all they have to do is stop Luka, I think, and then they have a chance. And they haven't been putting Kawhi on. Like, I was watching the game, they had Nicholas Batum on
33-year-old Nicholas
Yeah,
Batum.
I mean, not saying I hate Batum. I mean, you have
But it's
Kawhi, defensive player of the year. Your goal is to stop mainly one guy on this team, and you're not putting Kawhi on.
We'll find out tonight. I hope so, because Luka's just toying with them right now. I know they lost, but
I just feel so bad because that Clippers team has so much potential. So many guys that came in knowing that we have a chance to win a chip, and they've looked terrible in both playoff appearances they've had. The next question is, where do the points come from if it's not Kawhi? The sad part about that question is that shouldn't be a question because you got a guy like PG who's been that all-star. He's been a superstar once in this league. It should be Paul George. But if it's not Paul George, I think you have to look to a guy, Nick Batum, who played really good this year. I think you have to look at your three-point shooters. This team is built to go inside out. You start inside the paint, you get your buckets, and once teams start going in, you kick out to Nick Batum, you kick out to PG, and you hit your threes.
They definitely, Reggie Jackson's been stepping up a little bit. He dropped 16. I'm not saying he stepped up crazy, but Nicholas Batum, he had 8 points.
yeah, I mean, I'd go Paul George. He said he was going to play like an MVP.
See, you should always go Paul George when that question is asked, but it's like, can you now? Like,
who's your center? What's his name? I don't even know how to pronounce
Ibaka Zubac?
Yeah. Like, you could go him, but Paul George.
It should be Paul. Like,
Did he get hurt or something? He played 11 minutes.
I don't know. I haven't really watched. I watch highlights of Luka dropping 30 and shooting one-legged threes. I don't have it written down, but I think the biggest question in this series is you said stop looking, you have a chance to win the basketball game. This Mavericks team has shown us in these first 2 games, Dorian Finney-Smith is for real. Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, I'm not saying you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying you stop Luka, you win. I'm saying I said you have a better chance.
I want everyone to imagine if people watching.
Porzingis was playing.
Dude, that is literally the question.
Oh.
Imagine if this team had good Kristaps Porzingis, how good this basketball team would be. You're not guarding him inside.
They're going.
You're trying to start Luka, and Luka's kicking out for 3. Kristaps bang. But it doesn't happen. He kicks out. Kristaps airballs it, and it's like, what just
I know
happened?
he's fighting minor injuries, stuff like that, but
It's step up. It's playoff time.
Yeah.
You gotta be a star that you're supposed to be. Kristaps has looked absolutely
Ever
horrendous.
since he came to Dallas, he hasn't been who he was.
The real question here: who's the worst player in the series, Paul George or Kristaps? Paul George has looked terrible. Kristaps has looked terrible.
Paul George up 29, but Porzingis definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's Porzingis.
Yeah. 2 questions to end off the
Porzingis
podcast.
dropped 9.
That's one. Biggest shocker so far, and I think if I look up and down, I'm really shocked the Knicks looked that bad against the Hawks. I think this Knicks team was built to win in the playoffs. I think Julius Randle has looked absolutely not like Julius Randle in the regular season. I really thought this would be a Game 7 series, and it still can be if the Knicks play Knicks basketball. But I think that's the biggest shocker is how bad the Knicks came out early.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big shock. I think the biggest shocker is the way the Trailblazers have came out firing. I think that I like that the most as the biggest shock. No, I don't think anybody expected. I think everybody, the way the Nuggets came into the playoffs, the way they were playing to finish the season, I don't think anybody expected the Trailblazers to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I'd go there. I'd even go with the Heat.
I was literally about to say
that was
wet. That's just I think
Hey,
That's a title team.
Yeah, I really thought they were going to win at least 1 or 2, but
They went to 6 with the Lakers.
their last 2 games before their game 4, they lost by almost 100 points.
Take that into perspective. That kind of does it scare you to think maybe
That
the Bucks
Bucks
have been
real.
holding back
It's
for so
real.
Maybe
long.
they just figured it out.
Yeah, maybe Bucks have just figured it out.
You just go down that roster. Dante DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton, Bryn Forbes now. I mean, Brook Lopez, Bobby Porter. This team is so
The Heat was
deep.
a title team last year. And
They just
they
shut
get
them down.
swept in the first round.
And that's a top 3 defensive team in basketball.
Yeah,
the Heat.
that's
And they just got 120 on them every night
That's
and walk
scary.
out.
it's
Like it's
really
nothing.
scary.
Giannis is out there playing soccer in the middle of the
And then the sad part is they're going to play the Nets too. That's going to be such a good series. Maybe.
Wait, Bucks play Nets now?
If the Nets win, that
If the Nets win?
Yeah. What a second round game that's going to be. The MVP of the first round. And you can go up and down the board. I mean, there's already been a sweep. You could go Giannis. You could go Joel. I'm going to go Luka. I think Luka's showing us he's the future of this league. I watched a video the other day of just the future of basketball. And Luka's going to have to carry that torch, I think, when LeBron leaves. And if there's a player in this generation that's going to be up there when we're 40 of saying it was MJ, LeBron, add that name. It's going to be Luka Doncic. I think unless he gets hurt, I think Luka has been the MVP of the first round.
Yeah, I'm definitely going Luka. I think he's dropped 30 plus every game. I think he's got maybe a triple double.
I don't know if he's averaging a triple double. It's been
But
pretty.
somebody better figure out who's guarding him, bro.
Someone needs to learn how to guard him before they get to the second round.
But if I go to the second, I'd probably go Joel though. He's same thing.
Just
You
destroying the
You
Wizards.
gotta have an all-star center to stop him. Otherwise, it's gonna be a long series.
Yeah, I think you have to go Doncic here. I know there's a lot of players that are showing out, playing good, but I don't think anybody's truly carrying their team like Doncic has through this series.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question. We gave our finals predictions last week. I just want to see if anything's changed. We're going to give our finals prediction and series 4-1, however you predict it. Coming out of the East, for me, I think it changed a lot. I think this Bucks team is showing for real. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to take the Bucks in 7 over the Nets in the East. I'm going to get the Bucks in the East, and I'm going to go in the West. It's so tough now, but I'm going to go Jazz because I took them the first time, and I don't think enough has changed. I think the Jazz are going to come out of the West. They're a complete basketball team, and I'm going to go Jazz 4-3 in a Game 7 against the Bucks, and it's going to be one of the greatest finals series we've ever seen. Who wants next? This has changed a lot since last
it's very
podcast.
because I love Sixers.
We just watched that first round. It's like, oh my god.
I love Sixers.
Last week I went Nets because I just want time to be biased. This week I'm going Sixers because I really do think we could knock off Milwaukee or Brooklyn, whoever wins that. But then in the West, I'm still going with the Suns. I think they can fight back and win that series against the Lakers.
So that's the thing. I'm the question. I want the Suns, but I don't think I can. The way it's.
I just want to throw this out there when I said after the last game one, it looked so good. I'm not counting out LeBron. That's literally the quote. I want to put that on a T-shirt now.
Well, I mean,
I don't like LeBron James, but I knew I couldn't count out LeBron. Like that's LeBron in the playoffs.
I think it's more of.
I'm not, but it's a LeBron-led team, and it's gonna be
I see what
LeBron.
you're saying there, but I just don't want to give Bron that much credit for not doing. I mean, Booker went from dropping, what he dropped, 50, and then dropped 19 last game. And then Chris Paul's been hurt, so I'm not going to give LeBron the credit there.
I think Chris Paul gets healthy.
I don't know. I think you have to go Utah here. I want to say Suns, but you can't go Suns now.
Donovan Mitchell's look good.
I mean, maybe Clippers. But East is scary because you got Bucks who just swept the title team, love the Sixers and Embiid, and then it's almost people are gonna call you crazy if you bet against the big three. And then
I think the East is it's not a one-team race anymore. Like a lot of before this playoff, it was like, oh my god, the Nets look unstoppable. Like they're not losing a game to this playoff run. They're losing 2 or 3 now to the Bucks or the Sixers. Like that's gonna happen. Like they're not sweeping either one of those teams.
That's the thing with the Nets too. Like Kyrie didn't have.
Kyrie had 6 points.
Oh yeah, I mean Harden got 41, but some nights James Harden he's not shooting that good.
Oh, sometimes it looks like James Harden's a role player again on the Thunder. Like that's what it looks like.
He'll drop 24, but he'll take 20 shots.
It looks like Rockets James Harden.
Yeah.
But it's just this consistency
They don't have
consistency with Kevin Durant. It's just like they're always going to be in a basketball game because KD's.
I say you got KD who's consistent.
He's always got.
And then if Kyrie's on, then Harden's on. If Harden's on, then Kyrie's on.
There's
So
so
it's
many
like
options.
so there's still 2 superstars that are constantly on.
Joe Harris is maybe on.
I think that's where Bucks dominate the Nets is literally in the paint. They're gonna have so many points in the paint with like Brook Lopez. Nobody's gonna stop Giannis or Brook Lopez in the paint. You can go KD.
I'm not gonna say no one's gonna stop him because I watched last year's bubble and Giannis looked terrible.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that.
And also, Milwaukee's got to live up to that first round expectation.
Yeah.
Like they have to play that game of basketball if they want to beat the Nets.
Yeah, if
they have to play perfect.
If they play like they just did,
See, that's the problem with all these conversations. Is yes, I think the odds have changed. I don't think the Nets are like favorites to win the East anymore, like big time. But you still have to play absolutely perfect to take down Brooklyn. Like Joel's gonna have to average 30 and 15. Tobias is gonna have to average 20. Like it's not gonna be a walk in the park to take down the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, not only does I don't think Bucks necessarily the way the Nets are playing right now. I don't think the Bucks are gonna have to be perfect, like you said, to win a game. I think.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying win a series. You have to play.
But if Kyrie, Harden, and KD all click in the same game,
Yeah.
I don't think Bucks could even play perfect and compete. But I think I'm gonna go Bucks to take the East.
I like that team right now.
Yeah.
It looks so good. So you're going
I love
Bucks.
Embiid and their big man, but I think Bucks have way better role players than Sixers.
So we're agreeing Bucks Jazz.
Bucks
What do you got the series going to? I said Game 7. I just think those teams are evenly
Bucks
matched.
Jazz. If it's Bucks Jazz, I'm gonna go Bucks in 6.
I can see it happening. So you went Sixers Suns. Did you give the series in a 6?
Can we say this? It's always been more of a the NBA the last like 6 years.
It's been the
mainly
finals matchup.
The West. The West has been fighting for their position to get the title, and then Cleveland. That's what it's felt like.
This year is fun basketball.
All the talk is in the East.
Yeah.
All the talk, and then you got some talk in the West.
The Suns and the Sixers in it because when Aiden got drafted, they compared him to Joel, and he said, "Don't ever compare him." That'd be a good one.
I think that just brings it back up. I think this playoff is going to be a lot of fun. That's why we want to do this podcast because it's been so competitive early.
I definitely haven't watched this much NBA playoffs.
Yeah, this is a lot more fun. I think as I was driving over in my head, I was like, "This is the best I've ever watched." The fans are back. The players look more aggressive.
Mainly first round. Definitely first round. This is the most I've ever watched and been like
I just think
to it.
I think it's just so more competitive this first round because like But you know who's going to win. But at the same
I
time,
think it's more
The energy
because you got to think the matchups is just. I don't know what happened. Like,
You don't show up, you're losing by
You
30.
got Lakers as a 7 seed playing the Suns,
Yeah.
so that's like almost a Western Conference Finals right there. That's in the first round. Then you got the East is just crazy.
There's just so many teams.
Knicks is just.
John
they
Morant
play
stole a
so
game
much
from the
nice.
1 seed Jazz, dropping
Yeah.
47. Like, this has just been, it's been really competitive, really fun to watch. I think it's just going to get better from here as the series and the matchups. Like, just the games we talked about that could happen. Nets, Bucks in round 2. Like, that's going to be absolutely crazy to watch. Like, that could be 2 finals teams. But, I mean, it's been just fun to talk about it. We're going to go back to a regular podcast next week on Sunday. We're going to try to get the YouTube back uploaded this week. It's been fun today. Me, CJ, and Josh talking NBA basketball. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Buzzsprout. Links in the bio. Make sure to retweet, share it everywhere. We'll see you next week. I'm Blake Miller. Deuce.
shut up, Billy.